Hello, esteemed gentlemen. When you're not invited to the table, don't beg for a seat. Build your own, set it on fire, and roast marshmallows on the ashes. In a world that worships loud voices, polished veneers, and social clout, there's a rare breed of man who thrives in silence, moves without noise, and plays a completely different game. They don't lead parades, they don't crave applause, and yet they end up 10 moves ahead. Here's a quick fact that'll mess with your head. According to recent behavioral studies, the most effective long-term strategists are often introverted outliers with high adaptability and zero need for external validation. Translation: the guy who skipped the party last night is probably building something that'll outlive your group chat. Sigma males don't just walk alone. They weaponize solitude like it's a superpower. They're not mysterious by accident. They're calculated, self-governing, and often, let's be real, a little terrifying if you're used to predictable people. And no, this isn't some fairy tale about misunderstood geniuses or stoic lone wolves fighting the system with cheekbones and leather jackets. This is about how these men actually harness their inbuilt power in ways that make the world bend without even knowing they were in the room. Welcome to the shadow realm of the Sigma male, where silence is strategy, detachment is power, and everyone else is unknowingly playing on a chessboard they designed in secret. Stick around, because once you see how they operate, you won't unsee it. Number 1. They don't fear collapse, they plan for it. Sigma males don't just expect collapse, they plan for it like it's guaranteed. While most people live under the illusion that stability is the default, Sigmas assume the opposite. They move through life knowing that everything, systems, relationships, companies, governments, has an expiration date. That mindset doesn't make them paranoid. It makes them dangerous in the best way possible. They don't cling to comfort. In fact, comfort makes them suspicious. If things are too calm, too easy, too predictable, they start scanning for cracks, not to panic, but to prepare. While others are busy being shocked when life breaks down, Sigmas are already executing Plan B, because they designed it long before Plan A ever failed. This is a man who doesn't put all his trust in titles, money, or people. He builds self-sufficiency in the background. He sharpens skills when no one's watching. He creates backups for his backups. It's not just prepper energy, it's psychological warfare against dependency. Where most people collapse when their job ends, their partner leaves, or the market crashes, Sigmas treat those moments like open doors. The chaos others fear is exactly where they thrive. They understand that real power isn't found in what you control. It's found in what you can survive. If the system breaks tomorrow, can you adapt? Can you think clearly when the rules change mid-game? Can you walk away with your mind intact? Sigmas can. Not because they're invincible, but because they rehearsed loss in their mind so many times that it doesn't scare them anymore. They don't just brace for impact, they build through it. While everyone else is busy trying to return to normal, the Sigma is already halfway through constructing a new reality. His ability to think 5 steps ahead isn't luck or genius. It's pure refusal to be blindsided by a world that's addicted to pretending everything's fine. When collapse comes, and it always does, he's not on his knees. He's already moving. And the most chilling part? You probably won't even notice until he's already turned the wreckage into his next empire. Number 2, they don't vent, they transmute. Sigma males don't waste energy on venting. While most people rush to offload their emotions onto anyone who'll listen, Sigmas take the harder route. They internalize, analyze, and convert. When they're angry, they don't explode, they build. When they're hurt, they don't whine, they study. It's not emotional suppression, it's emotional alchemy. They understand that ranting gives temporary relief, but long-term weakness. Complaining is like handing your power to someone else and asking them to fix what only you can. So instead of bleeding emotions all over the place, they pull it inward and turn it into something sharper, like a weapon, a lesson, or a strategy. Grief becomes a creative engine. Betrayal becomes focus. Confusion becomes research. They process emotion through action, not noise. Most people use emotion as an excuse to pause. Sigmas use it as fuel to push forward. They don't scream into the void, they listen to it until it gives them the next move. This is why they seem so cold to outsiders. It's not that they don't feel. They feel deeply. They just refuse to broadcast every internal storm for validation. There's no performative sadness, no public meltdowns. They'll vanish before they cry in front of people who won't understand the weight of what they carry. And sometimes they do absolutely nothing with the emotion, intentionally. They'll sit with it, let it stretch across the silence, and allow it to reshape them without saying a single word. Even silence becomes a form of power, a reset button, a purification ritual. The world teaches men to either explode or suppress. Sigma males do neither, they transmute. What breaks others down only rebuilds them in a different form, quietly, relentlessly, without a word. Number 3. They treat silence like a scalpel, not a void. Silence, for most people, is awkward, something to be avoided, filled, or drowned out. But for Sigma males, silence is sharp, deliberate, and surgical. It's not emptiness, it's a blade. While others rush to speak just to prove they exist, the Sigma knows the real power often lies in what isn't said. He uses silence to observe, to dissect, to expose. In a room full of noise, he listens, not just to what people say, but to what they avoid saying. He watches how they squirm when the conversation stalls, how they over-explain to fill the gaps, how they reveal too much when faced with nothing but his calm stillness. His silence creates pressure, not chaos, but clarity. People start projecting, unraveling, and revealing themselves without realizing it. He never feels the need to outtalk anyone. He knows that silence is louder than volume when timed right. A well-placed pause can undermine arrogance, unravel manipulation, or force a confession more effectively than any confrontation. Most people feel powerful when they speak. Sigmas feel powerful when they don't have to. This is not passive silence. It's calculated, intentional. When a Sigma male goes quiet, it's not because he's unsure, it's because he's measuring, reading the room, letting others expose their hand while he holds his cards. That silence is where he thinks, processes, and plots. It's not absence, it's preparation. And when he does speak, it cuts clean. No filler, no small talk, just precision. Every word is chosen like a move in a chess game, not to entertain, not to please, but to land. People often mistake his silence for coldness or distance. What they don't realize is, it's control. In a world addicted to noise, the man who can stay quiet and still without losing his edge is the one with the real advantage. Number 4. They romanticize nothing. Sigma males romanticize nothing because they've seen what happens when people do. They've watched individuals chase love stories that never existed, careers built on empty status, and ideas of success that rot from the inside, so they stopped buying into it. They don't need their life to look like anything, they need it to work. They approach everything, from relationships to ambition, with surgical clarity. If a relationship isn't built on respect and autonomy, it's a liability. If a job doesn't offer leverage, it's a trap. If power isn't sustainable or real, it's decoration. Sigmas aren't moved by appearances, aesthetics, or feel-good narratives. They dissect outcomes, patterns, and human behavior without flinching, even when what they find is cold, inconvenient, or brutal. This is why they often appear emotionally distant. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they refuse to let emotions cloud the truth. If love becomes control, they walk. If success becomes slavery, they pivot. If a dream requires delusion to sustain it, they kill it, fast. Most people stay stuck in cycles because they can't let go of the romanticized version of how things should be. Sigma males skip that step entirely. They trade fantasy for function, illusion for precision, sentiment for self. Number 5. They don't seek balance, they seek dominance in specific arenas. Sigma males don't buy into the cult of balance. To them, balance is often just a polite word for mediocrity, an excuse to spread yourself thin and accomplish nothing exceptional. While everyone else is trying to be a little bit good at everything, Sigmas choose 1 or 2 arenas and go feral. They pour themselves into what obsesses them and let everything else fall away without guilt. This isn't recklessness, it's intentional sacrifice. They know you can't master anything if you're too busy trying to live a perfectly portioned life. Mastery demands obsession. It demands tunnel vision. And Sigmas are willing to pay that price, even if it makes their life look imbalanced from the outside. They don't care if their social life withers. They don't care if people say they're extreme. While others are busy doing yoga at 6, networking at 8, and journaling before bed, the Sigma is knee-deep in the one thing that actually moves the needle in his life. Not because he's trying to prove anything, but because it consumes him. He doesn't seek harmony. He seeks leverage. And to gain leverage, you sometimes have to let parts of your life burn. Not out of neglect, but strategy. He knows those sacrifices aren't permanent. Once he's built what he needs, he can circle back and rebuild whatever he temporarily abandoned. But right now, the mission is war, not wellness. Selective obsession is the Sigma's secret weapon. It's what allows him to create things that outlast trends, outpace competitors, and outgrow systems. He's not trying to be well-rounded. He's trying to be unstoppable at one thing. And most of the time, that's all it takes. Number 6. They exploit invisibility as an advantage. Sigma males know that in a world addicted to attention, being invisible is a tactical advantage. While others scramble for visibility, likes, validation, and relevance, the Sigma slips beneath the radar, unseen, unbothered, and underestimated. And that's exactly how he wants it. When society overlooks him, he doesn't whine about it. He uses it. While no one's watching, he's studying people's patterns, decoding environments, collecting leverage. Every room he walks into, he's scanning, not performing. No need to impress anyone when you're already 3 moves ahead and no one even knows you're in the game. Being underestimated is never taken as disrespect. It's taken as permission. Permission to move silently, to observe without suspicion, to build in peace. It's camouflage, not a curse. Because when people don't see you coming, they can't stop you. Sigmas don't announce their intentions. They don't sell their potential. They let people assume they're average or unimportant, and they count on that assumption, because the moment of impact hits harder when no one saw the punch being cocked. This invisibility lets them bypass ego games, office politics, social hierarchies, and popularity contests. While others fight for the spotlight, Sigmas are pulling strings from the shadows. They're not interested in being known. They're interested in being effective. And you'd be shocked how much you can get done when people don't see you as a threat, until it's too late. Number 7. They master mimicry without becoming the thing. Sigma males treat mimicry like a tactical tool, not an identity. They can walk into a boardroom, a dive bar, a high-stakes negotiation, or a family dinner, and blend into the environment with ease. They'll match the energy, speak the unspoken language, and if needed, fake charisma so well it feels natural. But here's what separates them from everyone else doing the same. They never absorb it. They don't internalize the act. They don't lose themselves in the role. They mimic without merging. They observe the game, learn the rules, and play just long enough to win or escape unnoticed. It's calculated compliance, not actual alignment. They don't conform because they believe in the system. They conform because it's the fastest way through it. You won't catch them preaching authenticity while spilling their soul to strangers. Sigmas understand that sometimes the smartest move is to smile, nod, and play along, while silently building their exit strategy. If charisma opens doors, they'll wear it like a rented suit. If blending in buys time, they'll blend in. But the moment that purpose is served, they shed it like dead skin. They're chameleons, not converts. They adapt, but they never belong, not out of bitterness, but by choice. Belonging comes with expectations, groupthink, emotional debt. Sigmas don't want that. They'd rather orbit on the edge where they can observe everything and be owned by nothing. People often confuse their adaptability with inconsistency. But what they're seeing is precision. Someone who knows when to turn it on, when to dial it back, and when to disappear entirely. The Sigma male can play almost any role, but the moment you think you know who he is, he's already moved on, unshaken, untouched, and completely unchanged. Number 8. They make peace with being unloved. Sigma males have already faced one of the deepest fears most people spend their lives avoiding, the fear of being unloved, unchosen, or completely misunderstood. And not only did they face it, they made peace with it. They've sat in that cold silence where no validation comes, no applause is offered, and no one rushes to reassure them. And they didn't break, they became immune. While others bend, fake, or shrink themselves just to be liked, Sigmas move in the opposite direction. They realize that being accepted often comes at the cost of authenticity, and they're unwilling to pay that price. When you no longer need to be liked, you stop editing yourself to fit into the world. You become surgical with your words, deliberate with your presence, and completely untouchable by emotional manipulation. This detachment doesn't make them cruel, it makes them clear on who they are, clear on what they value, and crystal clear on how little approval actually matters. When someone tries to guilt them, they don't flinch. When someone threatens to withdraw love or attention, it lands like static. They've already lived through the withdrawal. They trained in the void. This is what makes them dangerous, in the best possible way. A person who no longer fears rejection is capable of acting with ruthless honesty. They're not bound by tribe, trend, or social choreography. They can tell the truth no one else will. They can walk away when others cling. They can say no and mean it. Most people are so addicted to being liked that they sabotage their own power just to stay inside the circle. Sigma males burned that circle down a long time ago. And now, they move with the kind of clarity and freedom that only comes after emotional death and rebirth. You can't scare a man who's already faced the worst case and didn't fold. That's not coldness, that's liberation. Number 9, they break their own idols. Sigma males understand that hero worship is a trap. They don't cling to idols, mentors, or role models indefinitely, because they know growth requires breaking free of anything that once held them up. They respect their influences, but once those influences have served their purpose, they discard them with ruthless precision. To hold on to outdated ideologies or figures of admiration is, in their eyes, a form of self-sabotage. When they begin their journey, they'll look up to people, study their moves, and absorb their wisdom. These heroes might shape their initial steps, but Sigmas understand that their purpose is never to remain in the shadow of someone else. The moment they've surpassed the influence of their mentors, whether in skill, understanding, or mindset, they let go. It's not about disrespecting what they've learned, it's about freeing themselves from the chains of dependency. This brutal shedding of idols isn't about disloyalty, it's about self-evolution. They acknowledge that even their heroes are human, flawed, limited, and ultimately a product of their own time and experience. If a Sigma male has outgrown the wisdom of his mentor, or the limits of an ideology that once propelled him, holding on to them becomes a form of intellectual stagnation. He no longer needs someone else's framework to define his path. Loyalty to an outdated belief system, or the image of someone who's already been left behind in their personal development, is an anchor to mediocrity. The Sigma will burn that bridge with no hesitation, recognizing that idolization is the same as binding himself to a version of the world that no longer serves him. This doesn't mean they discard all influences, they just evolve past them. They take what's useful, discard what's limiting, and move forward into spaces where they are their own authority. This ability to break their own idols is the ultimate sign of their independence and self-sufficiency. Their journey is always forward, not anchored to a past hero or a worn-out doctrine. They are their own path. And once they see they've surpassed an old model of success, loyalty becomes an outdated concept. Self-mastery demands ruthless evolution. Number 10. They trust patterns, not people. Sigma males trust patterns, not people, because they understand that human behavior is predictable once you know how to read the signals. They've spent years fine-tuning their ability to notice the smallest shifts in energy, body language, and speech. They don't need to take someone's word for it because they've learned to track the patterns that reveal the truth. Most people rely on trust in others, believing in what someone says or the mask they wear. Sigmas, however, have learned that people lie, manipulate, and hide their true intentions behind layers of politeness, charm, or even outright deceit. Words are easily manipulated. Actions, however, are much harder to disguise. That's why Sigmas focus on what they can observe over time. The subtle shifts in a person's behavior, the inconsistencies in their stories, the patterns in how they interact with others. These patterns, once observed, never lie. A person may promise loyalty, but a Sigma will watch how they treat others when no one is looking. They may seem friendly, but the Sigma will note every shift in body language, every inconsistency in their tone, every micro-expression that betrays a hidden agenda. People's words are fluid, but their actions, their real patterns, are the blueprint of who they truly are. This ability to trust patterns over people makes Sigmas nearly impossible to blindside. They see the red flags long before others do, not because they're paranoid, but because they've learned to trust the data. They've trained themselves to read the room, to track behavioral loops that repeat over time, and to pick up on the smallest environmental signals that most people would miss. When someone changes their behavior, they notice. When a shift in the energy of a group happens, they feel it. These aren't coincidences to them. They're pieces of a larger puzzle that helps them navigate a world full of uncertainty. In a world where people are often unpredictable, Sigmas rely on the constant of patterns, and by doing so, they stay ahead of the curve, never caught off guard and always ready to act with precision when it counts. Number 11. They invest in isolation like others invest in networking. While most people pour time and energy into networking, chasing connections, and seeking validation from social circles, Sigma males go in the opposite direction. They invest in isolation. While others fear being alone, seeing it as a void to fill with distractions, Sigmas see it as fertile ground for growth. It's in isolation that they truly sharpen their minds, hone their skills, and recalibrate their entire existence. This is the space where their real work happens. No noise, no external pressure, just pure, uninterrupted focus. The world's distractions are stripped away, leaving only the raw materials they need to build the systems of their life. They don't need constant validation from others because they've learned to validate themselves. They use solitude not as an escape, but as a laboratory, a place to experiment, refine, and innovate. In isolation, Sigmas deepen their self-awareness. They see who they've been, who they are, and most importantly, who they are becoming. The distractions of the world are removed, and they're left to confront the uncomfortable truths about their past and the areas where they need to evolve. The person they were yesterday is often unrecognizable by the time they re-enter the world. This process of constant self-reinvention is a byproduct of their commitment to isolation. The isolation acts like a forge, where the weak parts of their psyche burn away and only the strongest aspects remain. People often mistake their preference for solitude as loneliness or disconnection, but it's not about escaping the world. It's about mastering it from within. Sigmas understand that when you're always surrounded by others, it's easy to lose yourself. But when you spend time in solitude, you strip away everything that isn't essential to your core self. That's when you grow. That's when you sharpen your perception to a point where you can see patterns others miss, understand yourself with brutal clarity, and prepare for whatever life throws your way. In the end, while others chase fleeting connections, Sigmas know that the strongest and most enduring relationships are the ones they build with themselves. Through isolation, they achieve independence, clarity, and power, things no network can provide. In a world obsessed with approval, validation, and connection, the Sigma male walks a different path, one where solitude is not a void but a wellspring of power, and where isolation fuels reinvention. He trusts patterns over people, masters mimicry without ever losing himself, and embraces the brutal reality of self-reliance. He doesn't fear rejection or solitude. He thrives in them, finding clarity where others find chaos, and strength where others stumble. What makes the Sigma male extraordinary is not just his ability to succeed in the face of adversity, but his relentless pursuit of self-mastery, his refusal to bow to societal norms, and his unparalleled ability to operate with precision in a world that's often ruled by noise and distractions. He is not defined by external validation, but by the quiet power of his own mind and the unwavering commitment to his own path. So, while the world may chase approval, strive for balance, or cling to idols, the Sigma male stands apart, an enigma, a master of his own fate, and a relentless force of nature who builds, adapts, and thrives in ways others cannot even begin to comprehend. In the end, it is not the loudest or the most visible who leave the deepest mark. It is those who are content in their own company, relentless in their pursuit of excellence, and fearless in the face of the unknown. And for the Sigma male, This is just the beginning. The world is his canvas, and he paints his future with bold strokes of independence, intelligence, and precision. The rest will follow or be left behind. If you found value in this journey through the Sigma male mindset, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because there's much more where that came from. Like, comment, and share if you're ready to dive even deeper into the world of self-mastery, strategy, and independence. Join a community that's redefining what it means to live life on your own terms. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Whether you agree, disagree, or want to add your own perspective, we want to hear from you. And remember, the world is full of noise. But when you subscribe to this channel, you're choosing to tune into the signal. Stay sharp, stay unapologetic, and let's keep pushing boundaries together.